This week, the war in Ukraine could take a defining turn. Zelensky is traveling around Europe. Kiev is getting more weapons. The preparations are in the final stages. Ukraine is gearing up to launch that much-awaited counteroffensive. Last week, Zelensky said he needs more time. He wanted more weapons too. He wanted his Western partners to speed up deliveries. It seems his wish has been granted now. The question, though, is what does he plan to do next? Where will he attack Russia? Will he strike deep inside Putin's territory? I ask because that's what reports say. They say Zelensky wants to be bold and aggressive, that he's identified clear targets. And before he strikes, he's basically canvassing for support, traveling across Europe. In the past few days, he's made 3 stops: Germany, France, and the UK. What's the purpose of this Euro tour? To get more weapons. And for a change, Europe is not dithering. They've announced new aid packages for Ukraine. We start with Germany. It's now the second biggest donor to Ukraine after the US. They made a big announcement on Saturday: fresh military aid for Ukraine, a package worth almost $3 billion. It includes 30 Leopard 2 tanks, at least 100 armored vehicles, and 200 reconnaissance drones and ammunition. This is significant because throughout this war, Germany has been a reluctant player in power. Last year, when Ukraine asked for arms, Germany offered helmets. When Ukraine asked for tanks, Germany dragged its heels. Its Western partners were critical. They slammed Germany's reluctance. Berlin seems to have shed it now. Listen to this.
Ukraine is a part of our European family. Dear Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine has our full support on the path to the European Union. Ukraine is here and Ukraine is Europe. Congratulations from the bottom of my heart and Slava Ukraini.
Herzlichen Glückwunsch und Slava Ukraini.
So Berlin is giving weapons. It is also backing Ukraine's membership to the EU. Armed with his support, Zelensky headed to Paris. Again, he got the full red carpet treatment. Zelensky arrived on a French government jet. He was welcomed by Macron at the Élysée Palace and showered with more gifts, more tanks and armored vehicles. France also promised to train Ukraine's army on this equipment. About 2,000 Ukrainian soldiers will get this training. So it seems Europe is signing blank checks to Ukraine. And Zelensky is making the most of it. His next stop is the UK. Today he landed in Chequers. This is the country home of the British Prime Minister. And even before he landed, the Brits made an announcement: more military aid to Ukraine. They're giving long-range attack drones. But Zelensky, being Zelensky, wants more. He wants a NATO membership. Listen to this.
For the time between a political decision on the accession of Ukraine to NATO and the accession itself, we need reliable security guarantees. Only this can play the role of a reliable stabilizer of the situation in our region, in Europe, and in the world in general.
It's a long shot, but not for want of trying. Ukraine has been at it for a while now. NATO membership and a fighter jet coalition, that's what they want. Zelensky asks for these everywhere he goes. No luck yet. He wants European powers to join hands to create a fighter jet coalition for Ukraine. Basically to pool in their warplanes and give them to Ukraine. But the West is not on board yet. For 2 reasons. 1, they don't want a wider conflict with Russia. And 2, they don't trust Zelensky beyond a point. They have reasons to doubt his intentions. This is thanks to an intelligence leak. It says Zelensky wants to take the war deep into Russia. That his team has drawn up a list of possible targets. Reports say the plan includes occupying Russian villages, bombing a pipeline that transfers Russian oil to Hungary, and striking targets inside Russia using long-range missiles. This apparently is the plan that has been discussed internally in Kiev. Now imagine Western weapons enabling these attacks inside Russia. How would Moscow react? It would see the West as a perpetrator. In the past too, Russia has warned NATO to not get involved in the war. They even ramped up nuclear deployments to send a message to the West. So the West is cautious. As it is, the drone attack on the Kremlin has raised tensions. We told you about this. Russia claimed that there had been a drone attack on the Kremlin. It also released videos to show this. It said that this was an attempt to assassinate President Putin. In response, Russia unleashed a wave of bombings. It struck several Ukrainian cities. So Zelensky's actions would be met with a strong Russian response. And he's being grilled about his plans to hit Russia. So far, the Ukrainian president has denied all such reports. He said, and I quote, "We have neither the time nor the strength to attack Russia. We are preparing a counterattack for the illegally occupied areas based on our constitutionally defined legitimate borders, which are recognized internationally." That's Zelensky's response, and it's tricky and open to interpretation. What Zelensky calls illegal occupation, Putin sees as Russian territory. As things stand, both sides are preparing for a bigger fight. Well, where does that leave China and its peace mission? Remember, Xi Jinping floated a peace plan, 12.0 takers, but he's not giving up yet. He's dispatched a special envoy. He'll go to Ukraine, Russia, and other countries in the neighborhood. What for? To discuss a political settlement.
Regarding the visit by the special representative of the Chinese government for Eurasian affairs to 5 countries, Ukraine, Poland, France, Germany and Russia, we have already released and introduced relevant information regarding the visit. As for the specific details of the visit, we will release the news in a timely manner. Everyone, please stay tuned. China will continue to work together with the international community to play a constructive role in a political settlement to the Ukraine crisis.
China's bid to seek peace is a bit of a sideshow now. The focus is on the impending Ukrainian counteroffensive and its possible repercussions. Email exchanges from inside the BBC, they talk about the risk of violating Indian laws. It's easier to rake up the freedom of speech debate, but does it give anyone a free pass to knowingly violate the law? America supports India because it needs India's support in return. And India is working with the US because it suits India's interests. This is how geopolitics works. Last night, he diffused a crisis with his defense minister. But today, Netanyahu was confronted with a new problem. His cabinet seems to have rebelled against him. The UK is looking at the Indian subcontinent to fill its coffers. That India seems to be negotiating from a position of power, like a partner and not a former colony.
And there they go.
The US and Russia are dangerously close to an armed conflict. This year, 2023, New Delhi will be the capital of global diplomacy. For a country as diverse as ours, with 88% of the population illiterate, it was a very big deal to write a constitution, and that too, the world's largest. Meanwhile, if we may, here's a Republic Day gift from India for the BBC. A list of suggestions for the BBC for their upcoming documentaries. Number 1, the Kohinoor and the colonial loot. Number 2, an outdated monarchy and unhealthy obsession with the royals. Number 3, racism in 2023. We're waiting.